Welcome to another day of Vlogmas, and today we are doing the Star Wars Mandalorian backpack, which you see in this on the cover. It's View B, but if you looked at my Vlogmas announcement, this is actually View A on the pattern instructions, as well as on the pattern itself. The pieces you're going to cut out is actually View A. All right. So now that I showed you that, this is what we're going to be doing, the backpack 9619. Let's go ahead and get over to the instructions. So the instructions for this pattern piece, you're going to need pattern piece number 1 through 13. Actually, yes, 1 through 13 for this project. That's any and everything that's View A on this. Now, I have different colors that I am using. I'm pretty much making it the exact same as you see on the front of the envelope. The dark gray, the light gray, and some black is what I'm doing. I'll share with you what pieces I have off of the light gray, the dark gray, and the black. I'll also share with you which ones are cut out of lining, as well as which ones you need to cut out of fusible webbing or paper fusible web. Okay, all right, and how to do that as well. All right, so now that I talked about that, let's go ahead and get into the pattern pieces you will need in order to construct this backpack Mandalorian from Star Wars. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the pattern pieces you will need in order to construct this backpack right here, which is the black and gray one. I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen. But if you are wondering what tools you will need, I have a whole video to the toolkit. You can look in the description box below for that. But I'm just going to give you the notions that you're going to need for this backpack. Now, because we're doing View B on the pattern, on the front of the pattern, but it's actually View A, you will need 12-inch heavy-duty zipper. You will need a ½ yard of 3/8-inch wide elastic, and that's for your side pockets is what you're going to be needing that for. Outside of that, that's all you need in terms of the notions. You will need some lining for the inside of your backpack. Make sure you have some paperback fusible web as well, and a little bit of interfacing. Make sure you have 3 different colors if you want to do the color block like I am doing. If you want to do Boba Fett, you need at least 4 colors for that. But you could do this as however you want, okay? Because it is your backpack, so you could do 2 colors, you could do 3 colors, you could do 4 colors, whatever suits your fancy, all right? So now that we talked about that, let's go ahead and get into the pattern pieces you will need. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the colors that I use, which is black, light blue, black, light gray, and dark gray. So the first thing I'm gonna do is show you the pieces that are in black, all right? So the first pattern that I'm gonna show you is pattern piece number 4, all right? So this is the lower front applique for both View A and View B. You're going to cut 1 of fabric. Now, it does say contrast fabric. Now, remind you, I am doing View A on the pattern instructions, but on the front of the pattern, it is View B, all right? But I am actually doing View B on the pattern envelope on the front of the pattern, but the instructions are actually View A. I don't know how they messed that up, but it is messed up and I know it, all right? So I'm gonna follow this one for A. It says cut 1 of contrast fabric number 2. You have 3 different contrast fabric, so just follow suit, all right? Now, that's why I wrote on my pattern that it is black fabric, all right? So whatever color you're gonna do, you just need to cut 1 of a single layer. You will place some paper fusible web. I'll show you how to do that here shortly. Make sure you transfer all your dots. You have dots right here. Make sure you transfer all your dots. You clip your notches right here and transfer this pocket line, all right, for pattern piece number 4, all right? Continuing on with the black fabric, you're also going to need pattern piece, what pattern piece number this is? I think this is pattern piece number 13. I'm sorry about that. You're going to need pattern piece number 13, which is your binding for around the front of your backpack, all right? You need to cut 4 of fabric. Now, remind you, we're doing View A, so you need to cut 4 of that black fabric, all right? Moving over to the next piece, you need pattern piece number 10. Pattern piece number 10 are your straps for your backpack, okay? You need to cut 4 of fabric and also interface all 4 pieces like you see here. All 4 pieces are interfaced, all right? The next piece that you need to cut out of black fabric or whatever fabric you have that you're using is pattern piece number 12, which is your loop. That's the top of your bag, okay? It's pattern piece number 12, your loop. You need to cut 1 of fabric, but also interface that piece, all right? Now, those are all the pieces that I cut out in black. Moving over to the light blue, I'll keep wanting to say light blue, but it's light gray, all right? Light gray pieces, all right? First pattern piece is pattern piece number 9, which is the side pocket. You need to cut 2 of fabric, okay? Right here where it says A, I need to cut 2 of contrast fabric, number 1. So fabric number 1 is my light gray, but hey, it is what it is. So I have 2 pieces of fabric. Make sure you transfer all your dots as well. Next pattern piece and the light gray is pattern piece number 5, which is the front pocket applique. You need to cut 1 of fabric like you see here. Now, I know you see blue lines. I'm going to get to that here shortly, but you're going to trace this out onto your paper back fusible web, and then we're going to attach it to this, okay? So just hold tight for that, all right? But this is pattern piece number 5. Now, let's go ahead and get into the pattern pieces that you're going to cut out of the dark gray fabric, all right? So the first pattern piece is pattern piece number 1, which is your upper front. You need to cut 1 of fabric and 1 of interfacing, okay? Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 2, which is your upper front band. You need to cut 1 of fabric. Make sure you transfer all your dots as well. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 6, which is your front pocket. You need to cut 2 of fabric. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 3, is your lower front. You need to cut 1 of fabric and 1 of interfacing. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 11. And pattern piece number 11 is the back of your backpack. You need to cut 1 of fabric, 1 of interfacing, and 2 of lining. So this, what it looks like is 1 of fabric, 1 of interfacing, and 2 pieces of lining, all right? Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 8. So pattern piece number 8 is your bottom and side gusset. You need to cut 1 of fabric and 1 of lining, okay? And make sure that you interface that 1 that you cut. So 1 of fabric, 1 of lining, 1 of interfacing, all right? That's pattern piece number 8, the bottom and side gusset. And then the last pattern piece is pattern piece number 7. Pattern piece number 7 is the top and side gusset. So you have the top and then you have the bottom gusset that's going to be attached together. You need to cut 2 of fabric, 2 of interfacing, and 2 of lining, all right? Well, that's all that you need in terms of the pattern pieces. So let's go ahead and get to sewing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this project. Now, I'm going to be doing it step by step as much as possible, but in this tutorial, normally I don't do this, but I'm going to be showing you the instructions and then do it so you could kind of get an idea of pattern construction. Now, many of you guys have asked, hey, Rochelle, could you kind of like walk me through reading the instructions and then doing it? So for this, the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be doing that. All right. Now, like I said, that I am doing view B on the pattern, which is actually view A for the instruction as well as the tissue paper. All right. So we're going to start with instruction. Now, backpack ABC, we're going to start with step number 1. So step number 1 tells you to apply the interfacing to the upper front pattern piece number 1. We have already done that. Well, I have already done that. So go ahead and do that because I told you what pattern pieces need to be interfaced. All right. Now I'm going to move pattern piece number 1 out of the way. We're going to go ahead and go to step number 2 for view A, which is the view that I am doing. We're going to press under 3/8 of an inch on long edge of upper front band pattern piece number 2. So this is pattern piece number 2. So you're going to basically create basting stitch. I'm going to bring this up so you can see it. You're going to create basting stitch 3/8 of an inch on both sides of the long edge of pattern piece number 2. All right. So I'm going to show you, I have already done this, right? And I pressed it under, as you can see. Okay. So I have already done that. So that's what you're going to do. Now we're on step number 3. On outside, outside means the right side of your fabric. So I'm going to make a note there. So let me grab a pen to make a note there. So I'm going to write outside on number 3. Outside equals right side of fabric. All right. Inside means wrong side of fabric, or WSF and RSF. Okay. RS as in Sierra, F as in Foxtrot. I just took it back to military terms, but R for right side of fabric. WSF is for wrong side of fabric. All right. So now you know what outside and inside means. All right. So on the right side of the fabric, we're going to pin the front band to the upper front, and then we're going to stitch along the lines. Okay. Stitch along the lines, matching large dots. And then we're going to baste the raw edges together, okay? Now, if you notice, I did not mark my placement line for pattern piece number 1. So, I mean, you could do that, but what I like to do is just do clips or little notches at the top, little clips. So I know where my placement line, and I could see right here, but you probably can't see. So I'm just going to darken those 2 lines that I transferred. Okay, so let me bring it up so you can kind of see those white dots. I'm going to move pattern piece number 1 and 2 out of my way. And what I'm going to do is take pattern piece number 2, like you see here. I'm going to move my instructions out the way. And I'm going to line the dots together just like that. All right. I'm going to pin, and I'm going to stitch along the side lines. Okay. As close to the edge as possible. So what that looks like is me pinning both sides of the upper front band. All right, so I'm just going to pin it there, pin it here, and then I'm going to pin both sides. So I'm going to pin down the other side, just like so. And I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch using a regular length stitch all the way down both ends, and then baste across the top and the bottom. All right. So go ahead and do that now. All right. So now that I have pattern piece 2, which is the upper front band, attached to pattern piece number 1 right here, which is the upper front, we're going to go ahead and move that out the way and grab pattern piece number 3 and 4. All right, so I'm grabbing pattern piece number 3 and number 4, and we're going to read the next step that we're going to do. I want to walk you guys step by step so you guys are not confused on what to do next. All right, so we finished step number 3. Step number 4 is for view B. I'm not doing view B, so I'm going to skip over what is mentioned in step number 4. Step number 5, we're going to cut out our paper back fusible web for pattern piece number 4, which is the front applique. We're going to fuse the web to the wrong side of the lower front piece using the directions that you have in the fusible web. And then we're going to apply some interfacing to pattern piece number 3. All right. So I already did that. So that step is already done. But I'm going to show you how you do work with paper fusible web. Okay. And then after we do that, we're going to pin the applique to the lower front, placing upper edge along the broken lines. And then we're going to match the small dots and all that good stuff, and then stitch across the top. All right. So I'm going to show you how you do that. So we're going to go ahead and move our instructions out of the way. Grab pattern piece number 4, which is this piece right here. Now, what you want to do next is grab your paper back fusible web. So I'm going to show you the one that I am using. It is called Light Easy Steam 2. It's the lightweight 2-sided pressure sensitive fusible web. Okay. So this is the one that I am using. I'll go ahead and put the name of this one in the description box below. And you can pick this up from Joann's. All right. So that's exactly where I picked it up. You get 5 sheets in this package, and it's super easy to use. All right. So Go ahead and grab one sheet. Actually, you're gonna need 2 sheets, but I'm grabbing one right now. And I'm gonna turn it this way. And what you're going to do is you basically going to trace in reverse, if that makes sense, okay? So now what I did was I went ahead and transferred the lines from my pattern piece. I made sure to transfer all the dots as well, all right? So now this is the right side, this is the wrong side. Just move pattern piece number 4 out of the way, the fabric out of the way. You're gonna take your pattern piece, which is pattern piece number 4, and what you're going to do, you're going to trace in reverse. What that means is you're gonna take your pattern piece, wrong side up, right? And you're basically just going to trace in reverse, okay? So you're gonna trace it all out. So I'm gonna grab my pattern weights. It's just some coins from my husband's fraternity. Nothing new, you guys have heard me say this numerous of times. All right, so, and of course I know that my fusible web is not fitting, but the thing about it is because I wanna make sure that it's in between the stitching line all the way around. The excess is just going to be trimmed off anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm really worried about the sides, okay? So this is the stitching line right here, so that's what I'm worried about. I hope that makes sense, all right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to trace inside the line all the way around for my applique, okay? So just go ahead and trace. Make sure you transfer the dot as well because you're gonna need that to line up, all right? So just go ahead and trace around pattern piece number 4 inside those lines. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have it traced, I'm gonna remove my coins or pattern weights, whatever you're using as your pattern weights, and we're gonna go ahead and cut it out. Now, do not use your fabric scissors or paper rotary cutter or paper. I would say use regular scissors. I'm just gonna use regular scissors and I'm going to cut this out, all right? So just go ahead and cut out pattern piece number 4, fusible webbing. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have it cut, the next thing you want to do is you're going to take your fusible web and you're gonna have a sticky side. So you have to basically peel it off on the back, okay? So it's kind of like playing with it to try to get a good portion where you could peel off, okay? And once you get that, you'll see the glue area, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this, just like so. Don't forget you have dots, just like that, right? And you're gonna take your fabric, wrong side, right? And we are going to pin this to the back of your fabric, okay? Just like this. It's gonna be really, really sticky, so just be careful and play around with the placement. And mine is just about right here, okay? Okay, just like that. And now what we're going to do is we're gonna take a scrap piece of fabric that you no longer need. So take a scrap piece of fabric. So I have some scrap piece of fabric right here, and you're just going to go to your ironing station and you're gonna put it over just like this and press it using a dry iron and no steam. You do not want any steam, and you're just gonna press it down a few times to get that gluey sticky part onto your fabric, all right? So go ahead and do that now. And you're also going to do the same thing for pattern piece number 5. Now I'm just gonna move 4 out of the way so you could do this at the same time. And you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna take pattern piece number 5, place it wrong side up, do your tracing around like I just did, And then you're going to cut out and do the exact same thing on your fabric. Just cut it out and don't do anything else. And I'll show you where you're gonna place that, all right? So just hold tight of just tracing this part out, but do not cut it out just yet, all right? So let's go ahead and work on pattern piece number 4 now. All right, so now that I have my fusible web ironed on to the back, I'm gonna turn it over so you can see. This is what it looks like. And I'm gonna peel it off, all right? And that's perfectly fine. It's supposed to look like that. Now you wanna grab pattern piece number 3, which is your lower front. And you're going to match up the dots that you have right here, which is where you have on pattern piece number 4. You're gonna take pattern piece number 4 and place that on top of pattern piece number 3, making sure you line them. Now it's gonna be a little sticky, so you're gonna have to play around with it. And you should have a marking where you have like that, the dots needs to be matching up. So make sure your dots match up and your raw edges are even. So make sure you don't press it down just yet until everything is lined up evenly, okay? So make sure you line everything up before you start pressing any and everything down, all right? All right, so now that I have it completely straight and how it should go, I'm gonna go ahead and use my hands and press it out. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to actually fuse it once again using a pressing cloth. And then I'm going to top stitch along the top using about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and stitch all the way across at the top, all right? So go ahead and fuse this onto pattern piece number 3 and then top stitch using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, all right? So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that we have pattern piece number 3 and 4 done, it's the pattern piece number 4, which is the front applique attached to the front pocket. I went ahead and top stitch. You can't see that, but I did it in black because that's the color of the fabric. And you can see the gray underneath. Make sure you are not getting lazy and make sure you sew using the right thread. Now for this one, I have a black thread, thread and bobbin thread set up, and gray thread and gray bobbin thread, okay? Because that's the colors that I'm using, all right? That's why I'm only using 2, so I don't have to switch out threads so much. Now what we're gonna do is go ahead and move this off to the side. Go ahead and grab pattern piece number 5. All right, but before we do pattern piece number 5, we're gonna go ahead and go back to our instructions, and we are on step number 6. So we're gonna prepare the front pocket applique, similar to what we just did with 3 and 4. We're gonna pin the applique to the front pocket, which is pattern piece number 6, which you see right here, along the broken lines, all right? So we're gonna do the exact same thing that we just did for pattern piece number 3 and 4. So go ahead and grab your fusible web, grab pattern piece number 5, and then go ahead and trace out the outline like you see right here, all right? Now what we're gonna do the same thing and cut both of our pieces like you see me doing, all right? So go ahead and cut out your pattern piece number 5 out of fusible webbing now. All right, so now that I have it cut out, what I'm gonna do is kind of outline it onto my fabric. And all I'm doing is basically doing a kind of like a small outline with my fusible interfacing, okay? Not fusible interfacing, but my fusible disappearing ink marker, okay? Just to kind of get an idea of where it's going to go on my fabric, okay? So I could see that it's gonna go here, here, here. And then I could see it, but I'm gonna try to draw it into where you could see it. I did not trace out the entire thing, but you get the message of how it's gonna go on your main fabric, okay? So those are just kind of like the line. You could kind of like trace out the rest of it if you want, but I know exactly where mine is going to go. Okay, so I'm going to put it back there. Make sure everything is lining up. Okay. And that's where mine is going to go. All right, so now I'm going to take my pieces. Now remind you how this is going. This is going in this direction. This one is going in this direction. Now you want to place it on the wrong side of your fabric. I'm saying like the fusible. You're going to place it on the opposite side, okay? Because you're going to be cutting these out. So what we're going to do is, I'm sorry, you're going to place it on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly like I did previously on the other one. I'm going to peel it off. So basically I'm going to do this, goes like this, and this is what we have. And we're going to make sure that we line it up on this side. All right. All right. So now that it's on, what I'm going to do is go to the ironing station once again, press like we did with a pressing cloth, and then peel it off and trim it down. All right. So let's go ahead and first trim this, because I'm going to trim this, and actually I'm going to press it and then trim this down to have just the gray fabric. All right, so let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that we have our front pocket applique, which is pattern piece number 5, done. You see that I have it cut out and everything. I'm gonna grab pattern piece number 6, which is my front pocket A. Now, before we do this, let's go ahead and go back to the instructions. So I'm used to just kind of like doing it, but like I said, I want to walk you through the instructions. So we left off at step number 5. Step number 6, we prepare the front pocket applique, which is pattern piece number 5. And now we're going to pin the applique to the front pocket, which is pattern piece number 6, along those broken lines. We're going to apply the applique, and then we're going to press under 1/4 of an inch on the upper edge of the pocket. Okay, that's like what you see in 7. Now, before we do anything with step number 6, let's go ahead and do step number 6, which is working with pattern piece number 5. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing now. Go ahead and grab pattern piece number 6. This is what it looks like. Go ahead and grab your pattern piece number 5. We're going to go ahead and take that off, that backing off. And then like we did for pattern piece number 3 and 4, we're just going to make sure that we have this centered and we place this on accordingly in between where you mark those lines. All right. And there's mine right here. And of course the blue lines will go away once I wash this. All right. I'm going to apply the other piece to the other side. All right. And I'm just going to play around with it. I'm not going to press it down until I am 100% comfortable with the placement that it's at. Okay. So just basically match up in between those lines like so. It's looking good. So now I'm going to press it where it needs to go. Now I'm going to go to my ironing table, and I'm going to press both of them in place and then top stitch once again using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on both sides of this applique area. All right, so go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the front pocket pretty much situated, so I have pattern piece number 5 on, which is the front pocket applique. I went ahead and top stitched. Don't be discouraged by the blue because it's going to come out once I wash it, right? But I'm just showing you this. I went ahead and finished off the top. Yes, I know I have white, but you know, I'm not going to change serger thread just for pieces here and there. All right. So the next thing you're going to do is start building out your pocket. So the first thing you want to do is take your pocket. We're going to fold it. Well, first you want to press 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on the wrong side. Okay. So you're going to press that. I'm going to let you do that yourself. You're going to press all the way across. After you press 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to press the down Now I have two little clips at the very end. Basically what I did, now I'm going to show you what I did. I'm going to turn it to the wrong side right here. So how did I get these two clips on the side? You might be wondering. Where it shows the fold line, I just made a clip at the very bottom there and there. So when I fold it, I know where to fold for my fold line, okay? I just made two little clips. So what it should look like is that top is pressed in about 1/4 of an inch. And then you fold down where you have those two clipping lines for your fold line, okay? And then what you're going to do is stitch using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way down this front, okay? So let's go ahead and do that now on both of the pockets. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have my pockets, my front pockets done, I have my applique on, my front pocket applique on, I have went ahead and pressed under 1/4 of an inch across, fold to that fold line, and then formed that facing on the side, like I showed you, created basically a stitching line and pressed that in. And then I top stitch as close to the edge as possible. So that's what it should look like, okay, on both of those pockets. Now what we're going to do is attach the pockets to our pattern piece number 3 and 4. So go ahead and grab pattern piece number 3 and 4. Which are your lower front pocket and pocket applique. So what we're going to do is attach our pockets onto the bottom portion, just like so. And it's starting to come together. You can see you have a dot there. So those dots should meet up, and make sure you line up your pockets with the raw edge, and the inner corner should match up with that stitching line. That's why I said that it's really important for you to transfer that stitching line as well. All right. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and pin. So make sure that you pin around the outside of your pocket area, just like so. All right. So go ahead and pin down across in this outside now. All right. So now that I have my pockets pinned on, what we're going to do is we're going to base along the raw edges around the corners and the bottom. So the outside and the bottom, we're just going to base. But then we're going to stitch close to the edge. I'm going to do about 1/4 of an inch on the inner portion of the pocket. So on this side, we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch using a straight stitch and a regular length stitch, and a straight stitch. We're going to sew that inner edge. The outside edge where you have the curve, the raw edges, we're just going to base around the outside and the bottom. All right. So go ahead and do that now. All right. So this is what we have. I went ahead and add my pockets on. I top stitched right there. So this portion is looking really good. We're going to move this out of the way and grab our instructions, and I could show you where we are. All right. So now we just finished step number 9. That was step number 9, putting on your pockets. Let me show you that. Step number 9, we just completed that. Now we're going to flip over to step number 10. All right. So step number 10 is part of front C. We're not doing C at all. So we're going to skip everything for view C, which is all the way down to step number 16. All right. So now we're going to get into step number 17, which is basically starting to construct the gusset, which are the top and side gusset, as well as the bottom gusset, which is 7 and 8. All right. So I'm going to skip all of that from 17 all the way to 21. I'm going to come back and do that because I want to get gray zippers, or probably gray, or something that matches the top of the bag, more like a gray or a black. And I do not have 3 of those. So because of that, I want to definitely get a different color. I have white and it's going to stick out like a sore thumb, and I don't want that. So we're going to skip this for now, 17 to 21. So I'm just going to get to the part where I can finish working on, and then I'll come back and do 7. All right. So let's go ahead and continue to step number 22 and work on the loop, which is number 22. All right. Step number 22. So let's look at pattern piece number 11. All right. So we're just going to do the steps that we can do before we add on our gusset and everything. All right. So go ahead and skip to step number 22, which is applying the interface to the loop. We're going to fold the loop in half lengthwise with wrong sides together. We're going to give it a press and then set in the crease. All right. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. What we're going to do is take the wrong sides together. We're going to press and then press in both of those crease areas just like that. All right. And then fold it over and you're going to stitch on that. All right. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right. So now that I have the loop done, I pressed it wrong sides together in half, pressed to those crease, and then top stitch using my black thread. Okay. So I'm going to move this off to the side because I'm going to use this. This goes on the top part of the back of your gusset. We have not done the top or the bottom gusset yet, which is pattern piece number 7 and 8. We already just discussed why we have not done that. Just for a recap, if you are just now joining me, all right? So let's move this off to the side and grab pattern piece number 9, which are your side pockets, okay? So it's the same thing that we have done in terms of folding the pockets, but this is a little different. So what we're going to do, move your side pocket piece out of the way. I have already done one, and this is what it looks like. All right, it's going to go on the side. Free to put water bottles or whatever you want to put there. But what we're going to do, this is the right side. I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. We're going to press 1/4 of an inch in, just like this, on the wrong side. And then you should, if you made notches, clips, like I did, clips for your fold line, like I did here, you're going to fold down to that fold line. So it's going to look like this, okay? Where you have that 1/4 of an inch pressed in, just like this, okay? And then you're going to, on the right side, you're going to stitch close to that edge all the way across, and then sift your elastic through it, tacking down the elastic on both ends, okay? Now, you should make sure that you cut a piece of elastic 5.5 inches wide. Okay, so go ahead and press in 1/4 of an inch and then fold down and sift your elastic through now. All right, so now that we have the pocket done, I pressed in 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then I pressed to where I have the little clip line on the wrong side. Make sure you're doing this on the wrong side. And then on the right side, I top stitch close to that pressed edge. So that's what it looks like on the wrong side. This is what it looks like on the right side. Now I'm going to take my piece of elastic. Now this elastic is 3/8 of an inch wide elastic. I cut 5.5 inches like it says on the pattern instructions. We are on step number 26 and 27. I'm going to grab the instructions. Now remind you, we skipped 17 through 21. We did 22, 23, and 24. We're going to skip 25. Now I'm going to mark which ones we skipped with just a little dot so I know to come back to them, okay? All right, so I have done 26. I am at 27 where I cut 2 pieces of elastic, each 5.5 inches long. And we're going to insert that elastic through the opening in casing and having the ends even. We're going to stitch across the ends on both sides, okay? So that's where we're at, step number 27. So I'm going to take my elastic. I put a safety pin at the end. Now, I'm going to say go slowly because you don't want to lose your elastic. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and sift the elastic through, making sure I just do a little at a time to where my elastic do not go all the way through to the end, okay? So I'm just going to pull just a little bit. All right, so that's about good for right now. So I'm gonna go to the sewing machine and stitch across, and then I'm gonna pull a little bit more till I get the safety pin all the way out, and then stitch on the other side. I'm gonna stitch at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance using a regular length stitch. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the pockets done, I'm gonna grab the other one. So both of those pockets is done. That's pattern piece number 9. Go ahead and move these pockets out of the way. These are your side pockets for your backpack, all right? So move that out of the way. I'm gonna grab my instructions because we're gonna be skipping a little bit more, all right? So I just finished doing 26 and 27, which are the pockets, the side pockets. We're gonna skip 28 all the way, 28 through 32. And the reason why we're skipping that is because, like I just mentioned, the bottom and side gusset is not prepared because I would need to pick up 3 zippers. All right, so I'm skipping 28 through 32. We're gonna skip down to 33, which are the straps, okay? So we're gonna start working on 33 and 34, which is your straps. So I need you to go ahead and grab pattern piece number 10. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so we have pattern piece number 10. We're not necessarily in a home stretch, but you are 75% done with this bag, all right? So what we're gonna do, let's get the instructions again. They want you to, with right sides together, we're gonna stitch the strap section together 2 at a time, all right? So you're gonna take 2 with right sides together. You're gonna sew both long edge and leave the side edges alone. And then we're gonna turn it right sides out and baste the 2 sides, okay? So grab pattern piece number 10. I'm gonna move this one out of the way. And then what we're going to do, grab your pins and grab 2. We're gonna do right sides together on both of them, all right? So I'm gonna move this one out of the way. I'm gonna grab this one, and then you can use your wonder clips, which is what I'm gonna use. Just to hold it together a lot faster, I'm just gonna put wonder clips all the way across. And just remember that the seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So we're gonna make sure that we are sewing at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on both of the long edges, all right? So go ahead and do that for both of your straps now. All right, so just to recap what I have done, I went ahead and did the straps, which are pattern piece number 10. And what I did with the straps is basically with right sides together, I sewed using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on both sides, turn them right side out, and then gave them a press. So that's what it looks like on both of those straps. The other thing I did was I did the binding, okay? So let me just grab the instructions for you. I did step number 33 where we do our straps, and then you're gonna baste the raw edges, okay? Then I skipped 35 through 37. Let me show you that. 35 through 37 I skipped. I went ahead and started doing 38, which was the binding. And what it says is stitch ends of 2 binding sections together, forming a circle. And then we're gonna stitch the remaining binding sections together in the same manner. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna have 2 sections of the 13, which is the binding. You're gonna stitch both ends using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on both. And what it does is create a circle to go around your backpack, okay? That's what I have done so far. All right, so now that we have done the things that we can do without a zipper, now this is the second day, next day of creating the handbag, not the handbag, the backpack. And now what we're gonna do is we're going to flip back to step number 17, what I ended up skipping because I needed to get some zippers. Now, I just picked up zippers today, and I have 3 of them that are the same color. So that's what I'm gonna be using for this, okay? So now let's go all the way back to 17, move everything else out of the way. You're not gonna need your straps right now. You're not gonna need your binding right now either. All you're going to need is pattern piece well, before we do the pattern piece number 7, we're gonna read 17 and then do it, okay? So the first thing it says, we're gonna press under the seam allowance on upper edge of lower front and lower edge of upper front. Now, if you remember, the upper front is pattern piece number 1 and the lower front is pattern piece number 3. So what that looks like is if you grab, this is pattern piece number 3 right here. And then this right here is pattern piece number 1. So what you're going to do is the lower edge, like it says, press under seam allowance on upper edge of lower front. This is the lower front. You're going to press 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on this portion right here. And then it also says you're going to press under lower edge of upper front. So the lower edge of the upper front is this straight line right here. You're going to press under 3/8 of an inch seam allowance there. All right. So we're going to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. And then when we continue, we will go ahead and do step number 18. All right. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right. So now that I have the upper and the lower front pressed under at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, that's what it looks like. And then I have this one pressed under too, if you really want to see that. Now grab one of your 12-inch zippers. Now the first thing you want to do is measure in 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And what I did was I put a blue dot on both of those to where I know the end of my zipper needs to be by that dot and the beginning of my zipper needs to be by the other dot. Now I'm going to advise you not to place your pressed edge too close to the zipper teeth, the zipper, okay? You want to be about a fourth of an inch on the zipper. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the lower front and you're going to place it on the zipper teeth, but make sure you're about a fourth of an inch away from the zipper itself because you want to be able to unzip it. So if I was to unzip it, it unzips very, very good and fine. So it's perfect where it's at right now, okay? And then you're just going to pin all the way across for the bottom. Now I'm going to do this slowly so you could understand what I'm doing. So you're going to use a zipper foot. Now you should have a zipper foot on your machine. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you should have one of these that came with your machine, okay? It looks like this. It is the letter I for your zipper foot, okay? Now, this is for you to sew invisible zippers. I just call it a zipper foot. It's not just for invisible zippers because it's not like your standard invisible zipper foot. It's just a regular zipper foot, okay? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this to stitch as close to the edge as possible without stitching on my zipper placement, okay? So I'm going to be sewing about a fourth of an inch away in the seam allowance, all right? So you're going to do the lower front and then you're also going to do the upper front where you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to measure in 5/8. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to move the lower front out of the way. I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to measure in 5/8 of an inch on both sides. So I'm going to measure in 5/8 of an inch on both sides. So 5/8 of an inch is here. And I'm just going to make a dot there. And then I'm going to make another dot on the other side. Now I'm measuring in 5/8 of an inch seam allowance only because the instructions said to do so, okay? So if you're wondering like, well, the seam allowance is 3/8. Why are you doing 5/8? Because the instructions said so. All right. So we have that done. So then after I sew this, I'm going to use my guide for 5/8 and basically just match it up just like we did for the bottom. Okay. You're going to pin. After you do this side, you're going to pin and then do the same thing and sew this on as well. All right, the top on as well. All right, so let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the zipper on the backpack, it's right here. It's looking good. I have the upper front and the lower front done. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and trim off the excess zipper on the side. You want to make sure that it's lined up with the edge of your bag. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and move that zipper back. I'm gonna go ahead and trim off the rest of that zipper. Now make sure your zipper's not going anywhere because you have a stopper right here and you have a stopper right here. Okay, you just lining it up with the side of your bag. All right, so that's what it should look like right now. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and move the front off to the side. You want to go ahead and grab pattern piece number 7, which is your top and side gusset. And what we're going to do is move the lining out of the way. And you're just going to grab one, all right? Now remember which part is the top and which part is the bottom. I'm just going to turn it over. Just make sure that where you have your notches is the bottom, okay? That's the bottom of your gusset. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab, now you probably can't see it, so let me go ahead and mark my dots again. All right, so now that I have my dots marked on my top and side gusset, I'm gonna go ahead and move this pattern piece out of the way for a second. Go ahead and grab your second zipper. Now, the reason why I have white zippers is because Joann's did not have 3 gray zippers. So we're going to use what we have. It's going to work out perfectly as a white, black, and gray bag. It's for my son, so I don't think he's going to really mind the zippers. He just wanted the colors to be bright, okay? So go ahead and grab your second zipper. And what we're going to do is with right sides together, we want to place this zipper where you have those 2 dots, okay? So we're going to go ahead and place that, making sure that the end of the zipper tab, once again, is close to that dot. Okay, you want to basically make sure that it stops right there at that dot. And you want to pin. Now I'm just going to use my Wonder clips for this one. All right, so now that I have it pinned, what we're going to do is we're going to sew about 1/4 of an inch on that zipper teeth. But what you want to do is make sure you take the top part and you fold it back like so, okay? So, and then you want to stitch, okay? So you want to make sure that you are folding back that top one first, okay? So I'm just going to put a actual pin right here instead of a Wonder clip to make sure you know to fold that back onto itself, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and sew this one down, and then go ahead and grab the third one, and you're going to do pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my last zipper, and I'm going to pin this zipper in place on the other side right here as well, okay? So go ahead and do that the same way that you did the other side. All right, so now that I have the other one pinned in place, I am moving this one back to do 1 zipper at a time so it doesn't get caught or anything. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do the right side and then I'm gonna do the left side, all right? So go ahead and sew your zippers in place now. Go ahead, back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and go ahead and sew them on now. All right, so now that I have the zippers in place, this is what it looks like on both of those. You have the zipper pull matched up with the dot on those 2 dots at the top, and then the end matched up with the dots at the bottom, all right? So now what we're gonna do is grab the lining, one of the linings, right? And we're going to lay that right on top of your zipper. and then we're going to pin in place, okay? So make sure you are literally matching up the dots and pin all the way across. Now I'm going to be using my Wonder Clips because like I mentioned before, it's just easier. But one thing I will mention is when you start getting towards the zipper, pull it back so you do not sew on that zipper and break a needle, okay? So I'm just telling you that now. So be very careful when you start getting towards that zipper pull area not to sew on the zipper pull, okay? All right, so go ahead and finish pinning the lining right on top of the zipper, right sides together now, just like you see me doing. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the lining pinned on, we're gonna sew using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance straight across, all right? So go ahead and do that now. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the zippers on, both of them on, looking really good. Now, the next thing you're gonna do is in the instructions incorrectly, okay? So that's why I'm bringing the instructions back. On number 19, it says with right sides together, you're gonna pin the top and the side gusset lining to the top and side gusset over the zipper, matching small dots and having raw edges even. Then you're going to, using an adjustable zipper foot, machine stitch long unnotched edge and a 3/8 inch seam allowance through all thicknesses. Now, one thing I want to tell you is right sides together and it's going to pin to the inside and turn just like that. All right, so go ahead and pin and then sew 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Go ahead and do that now. And then once you do that, you're going to do the exact same thing that you just did to the other side, basically matching. I'm going to kind of show you, but I'm not going to physically walk you through it. What you're going to do is kind of like the exact same thing that you just did with this side. What's going to happen is you're going to take your zipper area and you're just going to basically do the exact same thing that you did to this side. You're going to pin just like that. Turn this down, pin in place on this side, just like you did to the other side, and then sew close to the edge on both zippers, okay? You're gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so go ahead and do that now, and then press out both your top gusset and your zipper area now. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the top and side gusset and the lining is on the inside, now, if you have a fabric that has a direction where you have all of your different things, make sure that it's facing the same way. You don't want one this way and the other one the opposite direction. You don't want that. So make sure you are lining them up good, all right? So now that my zippers are good, test out your zippers. Make sure that they are zipping up and down with no problems. It's not getting caught on fabric. Now, I did go ahead and top stitch like you see here. Okay, so I did top stitch on both sides of the zipper. And I also basted it from the corner to the center and then from center back to the corner on both sides. Okay, that's what it looks like. All right, so now let's grab our instructions and I'm going to show you where we are. We did 17 through 21. We already did 22 through 24. So we're going to start at 25 with the loop. So grab your loop, which we already did. Go ahead and grab your loop and we're going to put the loop, in between the dots. So you're going to go this dot right here that you see. You're going to line up the top with that dot. And then we're going to take the other end just like so. Make like a little loop and we're going to line that one up with the other dot on the other dot, but make sure you have raw edges meeting. And what you're going to do, you're going to go to the sewing machine and baste across. So baste across both edges. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the loop on, I'm going to move this off to the side just like this. I'm gonna grab pattern piece number 9, which is my side pockets. We have already done that. All right, so I'm just gonna take that. Now also grab pattern piece number 8, not the lining ones, just the main one, which is your pattern piece number 8 is your bottom and side gusset area. All right, so you should have one of fabric, one of lining. I'm gonna move the lining out of the way. We'll work with that in just a moment. And what we're gonna do is, this is pattern piece number 8. We're gonna have the right side of pattern piece number 8 up. Now, one thing I'm gonna do, I don't know if you could see that I marked my area, which is called the pocket lines, okay? So I'm gonna show you this on the pattern piece. Pocket lines is where you have those dots, okay? My dots are my pocket line. Now what you're going to do is grab one pocket, just like this, and you have dots, okay? Make sure you are make sure you have right sides together. You're gonna match up that pocket line or side pocket with those dots, all right? And then you're gonna pin. So just make sure you have that dot meets this dot, and then you're going to pin, all right? You're gonna do the same thing at the bottom. I'm gonna grab this dot right here, match it up with the bottom dot, and pin, all right? Just like this. All right, so now that I have the side pocket sewn onto the bottom, this is what they're supposed to look like. So make sure you sew in between, you know, on the line with the dots. It's about 3/8 of an inch, and then I pressed it on both sides. So this is what it should look like. If yours not looking like this, go ahead and correct it now. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna grab our instructions. We are on step number 29. With right sides together, we're gonna baste the ends of the top and the bottom gusset together, matching the small dots. And then we're gonna make sure that we keep the side pockets out of the way. And then using an adjustable zipper foot, we're gonna go ahead and baste those sides. That's the size that you see right here, all right? So go ahead and grab, this is the bottom, go ahead and grab your top. And we're gonna put that top on top of the bottom. And of course, the bottom's gonna be a little bit wider. Just note that. And what I'm gonna do is match it up with right sides together like this. And I'm going to pin. If you need to use Wonder clips, you can. I'm just gonna turn it this way to get a better grip on what I am doing. And I'm just gonna pin there. I'm gonna move this and pin this way. And I'm gonna pin the other side, but I'm not gonna show you that on camera. Just make sure that you pin the other side as well, the same way you see me doing here. Now, using a regular length stitch and 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and go ahead and sew across baste it across on both ends. Use back stitching at the beginning and back stitch at the end, all right? You're gonna do that on both ends. Just make sure you match up the other end as well, all right? So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that we have the top gusset and side pinned to the bottom, we went ahead and did that. So let's go ahead and grab our instructions. We just did number 30. Now what we're gonna do is, with right sides together, we're gonna attach this lining right here to this lining, okay? So basically with right sides together, make sure, now this one will probably not be the same, but you wanna make sure that you are attaching the top to the top and the bottom to the bottom. So this is the top. So I wanna make sure that I am attaching the top to the top and the bottom to the bottom. So with right sides together, we're going to pin this lining to the side like so. Okay, so let me scoot it down so you can see. And we're just gonna basically baste both sides together like we did previously, all right? And then I'm gonna pin the other side the exact same way, matching up those dots on the side and pin. And then do the same thing on that other dot. And then I'm just gonna baste it again, all right? So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the lining attached to right sides together, so now what I'm gonna do is turn the lining to where it's now on the bottom, okay? So now what you're gonna see is that lining is now on the bottom where you have the bottom, okay? There you go. That's what it looks like. So we are on 31. We are to turn the top and bottom gusset right side out, and then we're going to give it a press. After we do that, we're going to turn up the side pockets towards the top, matching the small dots, and then we're going to press it. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and do 31 quickly. So it wants us to turn this right side out. Now what I'm going to do is turn the entire thing right side out, just like this. All right, so now I already have the top. This is the top already basted on both sides. So now what I'm going to do is base the bottom. That's where you have the lining that's just kind of dangling. So I'm going to go ahead and base that bottom. Base everything back in place. So I'm going to make sure I pin where I have the side pockets. I'm going to pin that back in place and basically tack that back on both sides. And then let me go ahead and pin the other one. All right, so now that I have the side pockets pinned, now I'm going to go to the bottom where I have the lining, right? And I'm just going to basically use my Wonder Clip and pin it in place. All right, so now that I have the top and bottom gusset done, I have the side pockets attached. It looks good. Make sure when you stick your hand in the side pockets, you don't have any openings on the side from accidentally not having that secured. So it looks good. You don't see any of that. I have the lining looking good on the inside on both sides. So now what we're going to do is move the top and bottom gusset out of the way. Grab pattern piece number 11, which is the front of your bag. All right. I'm sorry. Do not grab this. Grab pattern piece number 11, which is the back of your bag. Okay. And go ahead and grab your straps. We are now on step number 35. We already applied the interfacing to the back. We did that. And what we're going to do is we're going to pin the ends of our strap to the upper edge of our back. And then we're going to baste it across. All right. So we're going to do that for the top and the bottom of the bag. Just kind of like paraphrasing what you will need to do. But if I need to read it to you, let me know. All right. All right. So what we're going to do is take one strap. Now, I'm going to bring the illustrations back so you can see this. But what you're going to do, we want to make sure that you have your strap, or I should say, make sure that you have your strap and look at your strap on how you want it to be placed and what we can see. All right. So now looking at the illustration, I'll bring it up so you can see. It looks like the straps need to go with the angle this direction. All right. So let me bring it down so you can kind of see that. All right. And it needs to be placed in between those two dots. All right. So I'm going to pin right here. Now, it doesn't say right side. It just says, you know, we're going to pin. But then at the same time, since this is the back, I want the nice side showing, not the raggedy side showing. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin on this side, which means that this one needs to, the angles need to go in the right direction. So I'm going to pin right here. And then I'm going to pin the same one, like you see. I'm going to scoot it up and pin it at the bottom as well on this side. Okay. You're going to pin on this side in between those two dots, just like this. All right. And then I'm going to pin there as well. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. So grab your other strap. Okay. Look, and it needs to go in the opposite direction, this direction. And then we're going to pin at the top like so. All right. I'm going to go to the bottom and pin this strap in between those two dots that we have at the bottom. Right here. And then I'm just going to pin Now let me bring it up so you can see. All right, so then I'm gonna pin. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna baste across the bottom and baste across the top as well. All right, so go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the straps on the backpack, what we're gonna do is grab the lining, the front and back lining, that's pattern piece number 11. And what we're gonna do is with wrong sides together, so this is the back, this is the lining, we're gonna take one of them and place it on top, all right? And we're gonna pin all the way around with wrong sides together, and we're gonna make sure that we're matching up all of the notches. Now, I'm gonna grab my Wonder Clips and pin all the way around to make it quicker, all right? So I'm just gonna grab Wonder Clips. If you have Wonder Clips, great. If not, definitely check Waywack or Amazon for some Wonder Clips. It works miracles when you're making bags or you're using knit fabric. Wonder Clips is the business, okay? So I'm just gonna turn it. Make sure you are turning it instead of trying to, don't maneuver to make sure that it works out for you. All right, so I'm gonna pin the rest of it in place, making sure you match up all your dots and notches as well. So go ahead and pin all the way around or clip all the way around now on the back pattern piece. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the actual back of the bag done, I'm gonna move this out the way, grab the front, and you're gonna do pretty much the same thing, but I'm gonna use pins this time because your girl is almost out of Wonder Clips there. So I'm gonna buy another package just for things like this. So what you're gonna do is with wrong sides together. So the wrong side of the front is up facing me. The wrong side of my lining is facing the wrong side of my top, and matching up my bottom seam allowance. Well, my notches at the bottom right here. I'm going to clip. I'm going to use my clips first, and then I'll use my pins in between. All right. So I'm going to clip at the corners, and then I'm going to pin all the way around the front as well. All right. So go ahead and do that now, making sure you're matching up all your dots and your notches as well. Go ahead and pin all the way around your backpack now. All right, so now that I have the front pin as well, what I'm gonna do is just baste all the way around the bag using about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on both the front and the back. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so we have went ahead and attached our lining to our bag. Now you guys, we are in the home stretch. We are on like the last 3 or 4 steps, and then you are home free to rock your backpack, okay? Now, this is for my son, and he keeps coming in here every day. So this is like day number 3, to be honest with you guys. This is day number 3 of this backpack. When you are seeing it, it's all one video. But I can't make this bag quick enough because this boy keep bugging. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get back into it. Move the back out of the way. Grab your front and your gusset, all right? Now, this is where it becomes a little tricky simply because you're going to pin the front onto your gusset with it's weird how it's gonna go, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure that you're matching up your dots. So you have 2 dots on the inside where your lining is. You're gonna match that up to the 2 dots right here that you see, and you pin. Now, one thing I want to make sure that you are aware of is make sure you are pinning the front to the front and the back to the back. All right. So go ahead and pin there. Now I'm going to grab my pins right quick. All right. So I went ahead, grabbed some pins because you're going to need them to keep everything in place. And I'm going to pin my top portion right here. I'm going to try to walk you through this as slowly as possible, but it's not guaranteed you can see everything. All right, so you have a notch right here. You have a notch on your front, so you're going to pin that together. You're going to try to keep everything as smooth as possible, all right? Now, I'm going to take you to where the zipper goes, okay? Now, the zipper, make sure your zipper, because you have a dot right here, make sure your zipper is lining up as well with that dot. Everything has to match up. Now, I'm going to kind of unzip the zipper just a little bit. Now, instead of me using a pin, I'm going to use a wonder clip to pin that in place, and I'm going slow, so if you are doing this with me, you can definitely take your time there as well, all right? So this is what it's looking like so far. Now what I'm going to do is attach this in place right here at these corners, and I'm going to use my pins, pin at the corner, pin there, and then I'm going to also pin right here, all right? Just make sure everything is flat when you are pinning. Make sure you don't have any bunching up going on, all right? Now, we're going to do the other side the same way. Do exactly what we just did on the other side. All right, so now that I have the top pretty much done, the top and the side, what we're going to do now is I'm going to definitely go ahead and do the bottom exactly like I did the side and the top, all right? So go ahead and do the bottom. I feel that you are able to do that yourself without me babysitting you. So go ahead and pin all the way around the rest of your bag now. Go ahead and do. All right, so now that I have the front pinned onto the top and bottom gusset, this is what it looks like. Now, you're going to go ahead and base all the way around, making sure that if for some reason you have a little spot that doesn't give, make a little clip on the other one for it to give to fit in there really nice. After you do the top, you're going to pin the back the same way that you did for the front, all right? So go ahead and do the front and then pin the back the same way. This is what it's gonna look like, and it starts taking a shape of a backpack, okay? So this is what mine look like so far. It's looking real good. All right, I'm super excited. It's not even mine, it's from my son, but I'm super excited for it, all right? So go ahead and do the front and the back of your bag now. All right, so you guys, like I said, we are in the home stretch. Like when I say we are in a home stretch, I could smell the end process, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and get the rest of this done. And the only thing left to do, now that we have our front on the gusset, we have our back on to this gusset, you guys, when my son seen this, and I hate to keep talking about my son because I know you guys are like, dude, why you keep talking about your son? This is a so long. Guess what? That's my baby though. Anyway, but one thing I'm going to tell you is look at that inside, y'all. Like, y'all see that inside? It's looking good, y'all. All right, so the only thing left to do is attach the binding around the front and around the back. Now, I'm just going to show you how to pin it on, but I'm going to leave that up to you to do and make it look good and all that good stuff, all right? So this is the front, and what you're going to do is pin right sides together, all right? So what I'm going to do is open out the front, and what I'm going to do is take where I have this seam right here. I'm going to make sure it's pressed open. I'm going to press it open with my fingers, right? And then what I'm going to do is take this part, and I'm just going to make sure that I have that pinned right here in the center, just like this. And then I'm going to pin the other part to the bottom. So this part right here, right sides together, you want to pin this part to the bottom. So you're going to take this and pin it to the center at the bottom of the bag, all right? So make sure you have it matched up where you have those 3 or double notches, I should say. And then you are definitely going to pin. If you need to wonder clips, you can use your wonder clips. Now, the only thing you have to do is just basically go around making sure that you have right sides together all the way around and adjust where you need to. Now, I'm not going to pin all the way around to show you, but you could get the gist of what you're going to do all the way around stretching where you need to stretch, okay? So make sure you get this all the way around, and then you're going to sew using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, stitch all the way around. Once you do that, you're gonna flip this to the inside and then sew once again all the way around on this part to encase it. You're gonna do the exact same thing to the back. So once I have my entire binding on, I'm gonna show you what it looks like, all right? So go ahead and do that now. All right, you guys, that is it. Okay, so we have went ahead and put on the binding in the front and on the back all the way around. It looks really good. My little man, he's super happy. So all I'm gonna do is clean up all the excess threads around the bag, give it a wash, and then it is good to go, all right? Now, a couple of things I wanna talk about real quick that I would do differently next time is in the front. So this portion right here, this black portion, it's gonna fray so much. So the next time I make this, because I am making one for my daughter, and I'm gonna make one for myself in the sorority wear colors, all right? For myself, I want the sorority wear colors. My daughter wants Boba Fett. So I'm gonna do a Boba Fett for her, and then I'm gonna do the sorority wear colors for myself, all right? Now, what I'm going to do is, like, the next time I do this, and I'm gonna write this in the notes on the instructions, right here at the, I forgot what pattern piece this is. Let me check on that. I think that's pattern piece number 4. Let me check in the instructions. And I'm telling you this for if you decide to make this, you have seen the tutorial, and then you could do it yourself. So this is pattern piece number 4 right here. What I would do is fold down that top because it's going to be attached, and then you won't have this raw edge right here that's just fraying, all right? I would do the same thing on pattern piece number 5, which are the, right here. It's the one that you put, so the pattern pieces that you put applique, when you do the applique. Pattern piece number 5, the front applique. So pattern piece number 5, pattern piece number 4. Because you're stitching on both sides of pattern piece number 5, I would fold those in about 1/8 of an inch and then stitch it down to where it's not fraying at all right? So I would do that for pattern piece number 4, pattern piece number 5. Let's see, what else would I do differently? I think that was it because that's the only thing that was fraying. Now, also make sure you clean up all your loose threads. Like I'm gonna go in and clean up all my loose threads on this backpack for sure, but I love it. I love it, okay? And next thing I would do is make sure I have 3 zippers. That's the color of my bag. For the sake of him, he didn't care whatsoever when I took him to the store to get all of his supplies. So my son really he's low key. But this is the inside of the bag. He loves it. And yeah, he's going to take this boy to Walt Disney World when we go during the holidays, okay? During the Christmas time, he's going to take it. So that's the inside. And oh, another thing that I would change, I want to say this here as well. This inside part. So this piece right here is pattern piece number 1. I would definitely sew a piece of lining on the wrong side, like where you have your interfacing right here. I would definitely sew a piece of interfacing behind it before you attach the top to the bottom. You remember where you have that zipper area? I would definitely have a piece of lining, the same thing as your lining there. Also to the bottom, let me turn it this way. I would do the same thing. Then you don't have that interfacing just hanging out. It doesn't say that in the instructions, but I would definitely change both of those to where you do not have interfacing just showing, all right? One other thing I would do is I'm gonna show you the inside for it to make sense, okay? So you know how you attach the wrong sides together for your front and your back. On the front side, that's where you have this part, right? This part right here on the front side. What I will do differently next time is when it says wrong sides together, I would cut 2 pieces of the lining and attach wrong sides together first and then attach it to this. Okay? And the reason why is then in the inside you have, instead of showing the wrong side of the lining, it will show the right side of the lining because you doubled it. Kind of like, you know, you doubled it, right sides together on the lining and then attached it. Okay? So those are the only things that I would say that I would change moving forward when I do my daughter's bag as well as my bag, to make everything cohesive. But other than that, I love this bag. All right. So now that we are completely done with this Mandalorian bag, I sewed up Simplicity 9619. I hope you enjoyed. And if you make this Star Wars inspired bag, or you can make it different colors. It's just my son wanted the same thing as this one, so that's what I did for him. But if you make this bag, do not forget to tag me on Instagram or in your videos at Rochelle.Handmade.Designs. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video pretty soon. If this video was super helpful, do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, smash that notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. So I'll catch you in the next video, and as always, keep sewing.